We have good timing.
Barely.
Good evening, everyone. It's 5:30 p.m. I call to order the Northern Transportation Authority Finance Committee meeting of January 8th. I want to welcome everyone here, especially authority members, Chair Jefferson and Mayor Davis Younger, and our staff, CEO Monica Backman, our excellent staff, and not to leave out the council. So thanks everyone for being here, and thanks for all you do each and every day on behalf of the public. Do I understand that we have a quorum present?
Yes, we do.
And Michael Turner, right, as well.
Right.
Thank you for being here, much appreciated. So we're going to run through these items and be done by 6 p.m., including a closed session item. So we'll move rapidly through here. First action item of the meeting minutes of the October 9, 2025 meeting. Are there any questions about those minutes? Okay, not seeing it, I'll entertain a motion to approve the summary minutes.
So moved.
Second. Thank you very much. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That item passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda, the Finance Committee meeting schedule. Note that we're generally planned to be the first and I would say most important committee of the nights going forward, and we propose to meet at 5:30 each and every time that the authority meets. Any discussion on the meeting schedule? Entertain a motion, then we approve the meeting schedule as proposed. Or second.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, it passes unanimously. Now recognize Michael Longy to run very quickly through the discussion and information items. And if any member has any questions, please feel free to ask those questions.
This is our first detailed discussion of the operating budget. We will be back in February with any input that we provide to us on the operating budget. But in February, we will also include the local distribution or 30% budget, as well as the regional revenue fund or 70% budget. Going to the second paragraph in the staff report, what's notable is we've gotten the message that everybody is looking towards a fairly tough fiscal 27. And so the finance team has worked to basically make the operating budget draw $389,000 less from the regional revenue fund. Because remember, the regional revenue fund pays for the operating budget in lieu of jurisdictions having to pay for it based on population. So that's a 7% decrease from last year. The one major item that we are proposing is we're requesting the communications position that we've talked at finance a couple of times. The last year, finance did make that recommendation to the authority for the 26 budget, but we were asked to postpone it to 27. So we're queuing that up. I really want to emphasize and just kind of summarize the communications position. Whether we pay for our large contracts like transaction, which we will be talking about later tonight, we pay for that through the regional revenue fund. We also fund the operating budget from the regional revenue fund. So what we are proposing is to make less use of contractors, insourcing essentially, reducing our transaction contract hours by about 600 and hiring a full-time communications person who will provide us 1,920 hours of work a year. So for the savings that we're getting on the contracting side, you can actually get 1,200 hours more service, and it's still coming from the same amount, from the same source, the regional revenue fund. But instead of paying for this stuff through the transaction contract, and we'll talk in detail, you'll see that we are actually did, I think, very well on the negotiations on that. We had to make the decision as to whether we were going to insource or not, because we are getting ready to ask, next month, we will be asking the committee and the authority for the approval to award the transaction contract. So we've kind of baked the savings into that contract already. If we don't get the position, then we'll just have to use the contractors more, which you're paying a lot more per hour for essentially the same services. And then, of course, you're not getting that additional 1,200 hours. Everything else in the operating budget, the only increases are the normal escalations, inflation, that type of stuff. It's really, if there's any questions on that communication position, like to ask, be able to answer them now, or if there's anything that you want us to add for when we come back in February, which will be another opportunity for the committee to look at this. I'd love to have that feedback.
Yes, please.
I'm sorry. No, you were first. So is there a possibility for an in-house person to move in this position, or are we gonna have to go outside?
We would go outside. It'd be a new hire.
Because it is not been a position ever.
No.
It's brand new, newly created and all of that. Okay.
And essentially what we found are our only real challenges in the transaction contract have been in keeping the communication process on track. You don't see it. But the hours that our staff are putting into that are basically already happening. And when we were negotiating with the firms for the current transaction, prospective transaction, we made it very clear we don't want this to happen again. And part of that, though, is we need to have boots on the ground, if you will, our own representative embedded in there.
Yeah.
It saves the contractor time and money, which I think you'll see when we talk in closed session. It's pretty material. It also saves the authority, well, it's cost neutral essentially to the authority, but gives us 1,200 hours of additional communications effort that Abigail and the rest of her team can use to keep up with growth, essentially. We have a 2-person communications team. Most of the other organizations like us have double that or more. Some of them are different in that they have to deal with a wider, more public clientele, scheduling, bus services, train services, stuff like that. But we are fairly small compared to any of our peers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
No, I remember having this discussion last year, and obviously I support. It makes a lot more sense. If it's a position that we can bring in-house, get more hours and save a little bit of money, I think it's a good idea. I remember the concern last year was that some of the jurisdictions were looking at possibly laying off staff, and they didn't feel that they could justify. I guess my 2 cents would just be to emphasize the benefits. Then you will have more flexibility, you will have more hours. And that, as you said, is cost neutral. It looked like in the staff presentation, though, it would actually be more fiscally responsible, more, to actually have that person in-house. It'll be cheaper.
Better value for the dollar because we're getting those additional 1,200 hours a year.
And honestly, given right now the current environment, there's a lot of talent out there. This is a great time to bring someone in-house. You're going to get someone, hopefully, with the, maybe get someone even a little bit more qualified who's looking for a new start. So I do support this.
That's my presentation.
Points are very well taken. I also noticed that the proposed increases of 5%. I know that local government budgets are still being formulated, but 5% in many jurisdictions may be a high. And it may not, so that may be something that may have to be adjusted as well later. So hopefully not, but just depends on how tight things get. Okay, any other questions about the operating budget?
Well, I want to ask a quick question. I'm sorry. On point 8, when you're mentioning the 5%, that is, again, that's most is going to be performance-based increases, and what else that would be?
It's cost of living and merit. For us, it's the
Okay.
same number.
Okay.
And what we do is everybody's working under budgets now. Our budget is usually passed before we know what jurisdictions are awarding. So we go back and do a survey of the region, find out what COLA and merit increases the jurisdictions are doing. And then we don't expect that that will be greater than 5%, although we've been wrong in a number of years. And we've had to kind of do a catch up. So the 5% is actually a budget number.
Gotcha.
Our employees their increase is both COLA and merit, so it's pretty much all performance based.
Gotcha. Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
And we'll do that survey and make sure that we are in league with what the jurisdiction is.
Thank you. Any other questions on the item? Thanks a lot. The rest of the items are, under Mr. Long and Ms. Sen, investment items. Any questions or comments about those items? You want to summarize any of the key points?
Yeah, I'll recap them very quickly. On the portfolio, our performance is 4.48%. We're beating our benchmarks by a good measure. I will recap that Dev placed 44.5 million Tuesday, and we bought instruments that were essentially 3.78. So you can see when you're buying instruments that are beating or higher than treasuries by about 30 basis points, and you're still below your existing performance, the portfolio performance is going to match the market at some point. It's our job to delay that as long as possible and be positioned when the market comes back up to respond to that as quickly as possible. If you look at the November portfolio yield, it's I think that's 6.3 million. So the portfolio is still paying the entire operating budget for a year in a month and having about $2 million left over. So its performance is doing very well. On revenues, I'll note that sales tax is getting a bit of a recovery. You can see in the graph. We're still a couple percent behind, but I'm hoping that that's going to transition out. These numbers are 2 months behind what happened at the cash register. So while this is the money that we received in December from the Commonwealth, this is money from transactions that went through a cash register in October. So we don't have the Christmas or holiday season in there yet. We look down at grantors real quick. This is a little hard to see, but the purple line that's touching the low point on the green line, thank you, Liz. Grantors is actually giving us a bit of a bump back as well. It's up a lot higher than our annualization on it, so that's good news. It's mostly transaction volume increasing. It's not, again, grantors is the value of the houses or property being sold plus the number of property sales. What's driving this number up is sellers are making concessions, which is driving up transactions. So revenue is in a good place. Long story short, on the operating budget, we are 42% of the way through the fiscal year, and we've used 37% of the budget. None of the budget lines are negative, and we don't anticipate needing any changes on that. That covers those 3 items.
So look at this attachment A, we see we're in the negative of about 5 million. Is that going to create any kind of problem?
For
No tax revenues.
that, I'm pretty.
It's all sales tax, interstate operation, regional congestion relief fee.
Yeah, the interstate operation and enhancement program, that negative 19% is going to remain for the rest of the year. That transfer from the state is in. Sales tax is recovering. Grantors, as you can see, with 27% above the annualized expectation, is doing well. I think we're going to land again with a very small positive variance once the seasonal fluctuations go through.
Negative 1%.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're less than halfway through the fiscal year because, like I said, the December number is actually 2 months back.
Thanks. Anybody have any other questions on these presentations? CEO Backman, did you have any
Nothing that can't wait until the full meeting, Mr. Chair.
I know this will be talked about a lot tonight. And get your copies while they are fresh off the printing operation, but really well done. Thank you for that. Closed session. I entertain a motion as follows. I move that the Finance Committee of the Northern Virginia Transportation Authority convene a closed meeting as authorized by Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A29 for the purpose of discussing potential contractual arrangements by NVTA with third parties regarding the procurement of technical services necessary for the performance of NVTA statutory missions. Could I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.